In my past life, I was the spare tire for the cold CEO Sophia for 10 years, and it ended in a car crash that destroyed my family and left everyone dead. Reborn, I returned to the day we first met. This time, faced with her life-saving favor, I turned and walked away. I only wanted to make amends for my parents and live with some dignity. But the woman who once treated me like trash began chasing after me, as if insane, staging a full-blown pursuit of her husband's downfall. The smell of disinfectant stung my nostrils, and I snapped my eyes open. White ceiling, white sheets, and the cold 4-needle on the back of my hand. Wasn't I supposed to be dead? When that runaway truck came barreling toward us, my last conscious act was to lunge forward and push Sophia away. 10 years. I had been like the most loyal knight, shielding her from every assault, overt and covert, and in the end, I even gave my life for her. But what did I get? As I hovered between life and death, I saw her only frown, straighten the hem of her clothes that I had disheveled when I shoved her, and then say to the assistant beside her, "Handle it. Don't let it hit the news. Give his family a sum of money, the highest level hush money. Not even the slightest extra expression." My 10 years of wholehearted devotion, in her eyes, were worth only a single top-tier hush money payment. As for my parents, those with white hair who buried their dark-haired child, they took that blood-stained money and turned white-haired overnight. A vice-like pain gripped my heart. I propped myself up and sat upright. "You're awake?" A cool, distant voice sounded at the door of the hospital room. I looked up, and my heart suddenly stopped. It was her, Sophia. She looked somewhat younger than she would 10 years later. The frosty aloofness that kept people at bay wasn't yet on her face, but the inner detachment and pride were unchanged. She wore a well-tailored professional suit and stood there as if the entire ward were her backdrop. "The doctor said you only have a mild concussion and a few superficial wounds. Rest a few days, and you'll be fine." Her tone was flat, betraying no emotion. "I've already paid the medical bills." I looked down at my hands, then touched my face. Not the swollen hands from years of late nights and heavy drinking. Not the face worn dull by life's grind. This was my 20-year-old body. I'm really back. Back to 10 years ago, the day we first met. In my last life, it was here that, because I saved her, she saw me as an amusing tool to be used. She gave me a job, a chance to get close to her, and I plunged headfirst into the abyss called Sophia, never to return. "What's your name?" Sophia asked, her brow barely creasing when I didn't speak. This is a sign she's getting impatient. In my previous life, when I saw that expression on her face, I would be terrified, wishing I could take my heart out and show it to her. But now, I can only find it laughable. I pulled out the needle from the back of my hand. A bead of blood immediately welled up. Yet I felt no pain. What could hurt more than having your family destroyed, dying with your eyes unclosed? I threw back the covers, got out of bed, and put on the clothes neatly folded on the chair beside me. They were mine, a t-shirt washed so many times it had faded, and an old pair of jeans. "Where are you going?" Sophia's voice carried a trace of displeasure. I haven't finished speaking. I ignored her and walked straight for the door. "Stop." Her voice cooled, carrying a tone of command that brooked no argument. I stopped, but did not turn around. "There's $200,000 in the card." Her assistant Zoe handed over a bank card. "A little something for Ms. Taylor, as thanks for your act of bravery this time." $200,000. 10 years ago, for a poor student like me, it was an astronomical sum. Last life, I refused. I said I wasn't after the money. I just felt I should do that. Looking back now, that pose of feigned superiority must have seemed all the more amusing to her. This time, I turned around and, to the shock on her and Zoe's faces, took the card. Then, in front of them, I gently folded it. Click! The card snapped, and I tossed it into the nearby trash can. "I'm not Caldway, and I don't need your goodwill." I looked at Sophia's face, written full of astonishment, and spoke word by word. "Also, that car was the ride-hail I ordered. The driver slammed on the brakes not because of you, but because a cat darted out at the intersection. From start to finish, you were just a stranger who blocked my way. So don't bother me again." After saying that, I didn't look at her anymore and turned to walk out of the hospital room. I could feel her sharp, incredulous gaze nailed into my back like a spike. She probably had never been contradicted like this in her life. A poor student, a lifesaver, she thought he was, an ant she could dismiss with a wave of her hand. How dare he throw her charity into the trash? This upended her understanding. But so what? Stepping out of the hospital doors, the sunlight stung my eyes. I took a deep breath. The air was mixed with the unique scent of summer foliage. How wonderful. I, Ethan, am back. This life, I answer to no one but myself. I live for my family. Sophia? Who is she? I didn't go straight home. Instead, I went to the nearest bank. I checked with my ID, and my savings card that I'd used for years had a balance of $3,200. This was the money I'd scrimped and saved to buy a new wheelchair for my father, George. In my previous life, that money ultimately ended up with Sophia. It was her birthday, and to buy her a necklace that would seem worthy of her, I spent all my savings. In the end, she didn't even look at the necklace. She just tossed it to Zoe. And my father's wheelchair was never replaced with a new one until he passed away. Thinking of that, my heart felt as if a hand had squeezed it violently. I took $2,000 and bought the cheapest smartphones I could find at a phone shop by the road for my parents. They had been using basic phones that could only call and text, always saying they couldn't bear to spend the money. Then I took the bus home. My home is in the old district, the kind of red brick building that's about to be demolished. The bus swayed, and the scenes outside the window became more and more familiar. I leaned against the window, looking at those streets that were both familiar and strange, my eyes stinging. In my previous life, I achieved fame and success. No, after becoming Sophia's most capable assistant, I moved into a high-end apartment in the city center. I thought that was success, a way to bring honor to my family. I brought my parents over, but they didn't get used to living there. There was no warmth among neighbors. Stepping outside, you were surrounded by skyscrapers, and there wasn't a single old buddy to play chess or cards with. I always said I was busy, that I didn't have time to be with them. By the time I finally had time, they were already gone. Ethan, you're back? Just after I got out of the car, old man Arthur from the mahjong parlor at the alley entrance waved at me. I smiled and answered with a yes. Great, everything is still here. I rushed up the stairs in 3 quick steps, took out my keys, and opened the door. Who is it? My mom Linda's wary voice came from inside. Mom, it's me. The door opened. My mom was wearing an apron and holding a spatula. She froze for a moment when she saw me. Then her face lit up with a wide smile. Aren't you supposed to be in class today? Why are you back? I missed you. So I came back. I smiled and handed over the phone. Bought this for you and Dad. You spend money so recklessly. My mom complained, but her eyes were sparkling as she turned the phone over and over. How much did this cost? Not expensive. I changed my shoes and walked into the inner room. My father was sitting in that creaky old wheelchair, wearing reading glasses, intently repairing a radio. His leg had been crushed by factory machinery when I was a child, trying to save me. That has been my lifelong guilt. Dad, I called out. He looked up, saw me, and a light came into his cloudy eyes. You're back. I walked over, crouched in front of him, and looked at his hands, calloused and scarred from years of repair work. Dad, stop repairing things. From now on, I will support you. My father was stunned. Then he smiled and patted my head with those rough palms. You fool, what nonsense are you talking? Study well. That is the greatest filial piety you can show us. I said nothing more. I just rested my head on his knee. Tears slid down silently. It's good. They're all still here. In the evening, my mother made a large spread of dishes. While teaching them how to use the smartphone, I kept my father company and had a couple of drinks with him. My mother, using the new phone, clumsily took a picture of me, then looked at it and smiled silly. My son is really handsome. My father was studying how to read the news and how to listen to opera. This meal left me feeling both warm and a little heartbroken. This is what, in my previous life, I couldn't get back even with my life. Early the next morning, I was about to go out when the phone rang. It was an unknown number. I answered. Mr. Ethan? I'm Zoe, Ms. Taylor's assistant. The voice on the other end was polite, but carried a touch of businesslike indifference. I made a sound of agreement. Miss Taylor wants to see you. I was wondering if you have time today. No time. I refused outright. Zoe clearly hadn't expected me to be so curt. She was momentarily at a loss, then continued. Mr. Johnson, Ms. Taylor only wants to thank you in person. Also, regarding the damage to our bank card, Ms. Taylor hopes you can give an explanation. Explain? I smiled. If you want to thank me, cash out that $200,000 and donate it to the orphanage. As for explanations, I throw away my own things. Do I need to explain myself to anyone? Since I accepted that card, it's mine. How I handle it is my freedom. Mr. Johnson, you probably don't understand Ms. Taylor very well. In Ning City, no one refuses Ms. Taylor twice. Zoe's tone intensified. So what? I retorted. The universe is so vast. The earth is so small. Ning City is nothing. Tell your Ms. Taylor that from now on everyone goes their own way and nobody gets in anyone else's way. That's it. After saying that, I hung up immediately and blocked the number. I could picture the expressions on the other end of the line. Zoe and Sophia would look like they'd seen a ghost. A poor kid, impervious to persuasion, neither soft nor hard. This will surely awaken Sophia's desire to conquer. In my last life, I fell in her trap step by step just like that. But in this life, I don't have time to play her boring games. I have more important things to do. I opened my computer and logged into a foreign stock trading app. I remember very clearly, today at 2:30 p.m., a junk stock called Dongxing Technology would surge 300% within half an hour because of an M&A rumor leaked in advance, and then be promptly suspended. In my previous life, it was a moderately sized scandal in financial circles. But in this life, it was my first pot of gold. I had $1,200 left in my account. I invested everything. Then I shut down the computer, went out to the market to buy groceries. I wanted to cook a meal for my parents with my own hands. At 2:25 in the afternoon, I opened the trading software right on the dot. The stock price of Dongxing Technology lay like a dead fish, stuck on the limit down board. The stock forum was filled with wails. Everyone was cursing the market maker for being inhuman. I lit a cigarette and waited quietly. Exactly 2:30. With no warning, a bright green straight line shot sharply upward. 1 minute, from limit down to the green. 5 minutes, up 50%. 10 minutes, 120%. The stock forum exploded. People who were cursing a second ago were shouting, "Dongxing is awesome," the next. I didn't look at those. I just stared at the numbers flashing on the screen. 255. The rise froze at 307%. Without hesitation, I sold everything. $1,200 had become almost $5,000. The money wasn't much, but it was a start. Almost the very second after I sold, a trading suspension notice popped up on the screen. The dust settled. I shut down the computer and let out a long breath. Rebirth brought not only memories, but also a precise grasp of the situation. The feeling was peculiar. That night, with the money I had earned, I bought my dad the electric wheelchair he'd been talking about for a long time, and I also bought my mom a washing machine with a drying function. When they saw the items, they were surprised and delighted, and chased after me asking where the money had come from. I just said I'd won a prize and brushed them off. Seeing them so happy, I felt an unprecedented sense of fulfillment. I haven't gone to school these past few days. I called the counselor, said there were family matters, and asked for extended leave. Right now, I'm no longer very interested in the knowledge from university. My mind is full of the business storms of the next 10 years. That's my battlefield. I took the remaining money, plus what I'd saved before, scraped together just under 10,000 US dollars, and put it all into another stock I believed in. This time, I'm planning a long hold. And Sophia, unexpectedly, had gone quiet. He didn't contact me for 3 straight days. I was happy to have the peace and quiet. I thought that would be the end of it. On the 4th day, I got a call from my cousin Tyler. "Ethan, where are you? Come have dinner tonight. Your sister-in-law will be there too." My cousin Tyler. In a last life, he was the only relative on my father's side. After my father broke his leg, my grandparents thought he had become a burden and long ago cut ties with our family. Only this aunt's son still visited occasionally. I always thought he genuinely treated us well. After I made my fortune, I helped him a lot. I bought him a house, bought him a car, and put him in my company as a vice president. And the result? He colluded with my rival to steal the company's core secrets and dealt me a fatal blow. That was also the main reason I never recovered and had to numb myself with alcohol. When I was arrested and imprisoned, he even put on a show and came to see me, saying things like, "Ethan, don't worry, your aunt and uncle and I will definitely take good care of you." But it was under his care that my parents were driven to death by sheer anger. That bastard. I gripped the phone, my knuckles whitening from a force. "Fine, where?" I said into the phone, my voice as calm as a stagnant pool. "The usual place, that food stall in the south of the city. 7 tonight. Don't be late." After hanging up, a flash of murderous intent passed through my eyes. "Tyler, we need to settle the score from our last life." At 7 in the evening, I arrived at the street food stall on time. Tyler and his heavily made-up girlfriend Luna had already ordered a whole table of dishes. "Ethan, over here." Tyler waved to me enthusiastically. I walked over and pulled out a chair to sit down. "Come, Ethan, let me introduce you. This is your sister-in-law, Luna." Tyler put his arm around his girlfriend's shoulders, wearing a smug expression. Luna sized me up and down, a faint, hard-to-detect look of contempt in her eyes, forcing a fake smile. "Hello." I nodded, saying nothing. "What would you like to drink?" "I'm treating today. Order whatever you want." Tyler said generously. "No need," I drove. I blurted out. Tyler paused, then burst out laughing. "All right, you kid. When did you buy a car?" "Nice. Hiding it all this time." He thought I was joking. "Speak. What do you want?" I couldn't be bothered to waste words with him. Tyler and Luna exchanged a glance, and the latter gave him a look. Tyler cleared his throat and poured me a cup of tea. "Ethan, it's like this. Brother recently has his eye on a project that's a sure win. It's just, money's a bit tight right now. We're short about $100,000 or so. Do you think you could front it for a bit? Here we go. Exactly the same as last life. It was that so-called project that left him completely ruined. Then he came to me to cry about it, and I softened, giving him all the savings I had at the time. It turned out he didn't use the money to pay off debts at all. He bought a bag for Luna." "What project?" I asked. Just going into business with a friend to open a bar. We've already picked the location, guaranteed to be booming." Tyler said, spitting enthusiasm. "Oh, which friend? You wouldn't know him even if I told you." Tyler was a little impatient. "Just say whether you'll lend it or not. We're family. Would I screw you over?" "You would," I said calmly. Tyler's smile froze on his face. "Ethan, what do you mean?" "I mean, is your friend's name Jake? Let me assure you. You'll get your money back in 3 months, and in a year he'll be buying cars and houses." Tyler's expression changed in an instant. He looked at me as if he'd seen a ghost. "You, how did you know?" "I also know the transfer fee for that bar was $300,000, and you and Jake were supposed to pay $150,000 each. But in reality, Jake didn't pay a cent. He even took a $50,000 kickback from the landlord. That place fails fire and health inspections. The authorities already issued a rectification order, and they're coming to seal it up next week. The money you've put in is gone." With every sentence I spoke, Tyler's face grew paler. By the end, his lips were trembling, and he couldn't utter a single word. Luna beside him was also dumbfounded. You're talking nonsense. You investigated me." Tyler slammed the table hard and shouted, blustering. "Do I need to investigate you?" I sneered and stood up. "Tyler, for my dad's sake, I'll call you brother one last time. Take care of yourself." After saying that, I turned and left. "Ethan, you stop right there." Luna's sharp voice rang from behind me. "What's your attitude? If you won't lend the money, then don't. Why act so big? He's just a poor student. What's there to be arrogant about?" I stopped in my tracks and looked back at her. "You're right." I nodded. "I really am a poor student now. So every penny I have is precious. Instead of lending it to a scheme that's bound to go down the drain, I might as well throw it to the dogs. At least it'll make a sound." "You." Luna's face contorted with anger. I ignored them and walked straight out of the food stall. Just as I reached the corner, A black Bentley pulled up beside me without a sound. The car window rolled down, revealing Sophia's expressionless face. She just looked at me quietly, her eyes full of complexity. "Get in the car," she said. Only then did I realize she had been here the whole time. She had seen everything that had just happened. "I told you, don't bother me. I can help you with your cousin's project." She spoke, and there was a trace of something even she hadn't noticed in her tone. "Eagerness? What do you mean? I can put up the money for you to buy in, or I can just buy the bar outright and hand it over to you to run," she said. "This is your chance to prove yourself." I looked at her and suddenly smiled. She was still the same. She thought every problem could be solved with money. She thought everyone craved the opportunities she offered. "Ms. Taylor," I bent down and leaned toward the car window, looking her in the eyes. "Do you really think everyone has to revolve around you? You toss a scrap of bone and expect me to wag my tail and leap at it?" Her pupils suddenly constricted. "Ethan, watch your language. My words depend on your actions." I straightened up and put distance between us. "Put away that presumptuous need to control. I'll walk my own path. I don't need anyone, especially you, telling me what to do." And I said, looking at Tyler not far behind her, the one who had chased out from the food stall, "Keep your people in line. Don't let them bother me again." After that, I disappeared into the night without looking back. Sophia remained where she stood, her face ashen. Zoe beside her didn't dare to breathe. How could he know so much? Sophia murmured, her voice full of bewilderment and frustration. She had looked into Ethan, an ordinary, utterly unremarkable college student, poor family, introverted personality. But the man before her was calm, decisive, perceptive of people's hearts, and even carried a kind of world-weary insight that saw through everything. This is not the same person at all. "Miss Taylor, what do we do now?" Zoe asked cautiously. Sophia was silent for a long time before speaking, her voice hoarse. "Keep investigating. I need to know everything about him. Who he has met, what he has done. Not a single moment can be missed." She had a powerful intuition. The man called Ethan was hiding a huge secret, and that secret made her feel a trace of fear and a trace of a morbid curiosity that even she was unwilling to admit to herself. I didn't expect Tyler to actually come looking for me at my home. The next noon, just as I'd finished cooking, he barged in with Luna and my Aunt Margaret John. "Ethan, you ungrateful brat. So you've grown a backbone, have you?" My aunt started berating as soon as she came in, spitting words left and right. "Your brother kindly invited you to dinner to discuss something, and what do? You embarrass him in front of others." My parents were startled by the commotion and hurried to intervene. "Margaret Jean, what are you doing?" "Speak properly," my father said with a conciliatory smile. "Speak properly? George, look at the son you raised." My aunt pointed at my nose. "Tyler is your own nephew. He's in trouble now and asked to borrow some money. What's wrong with that? Even if he refused, that's one thing, but you cursed his business to fail. Is that how you treat a brother?" Tyler stood to one side, head bowed, putting on an expression of having been grievously wronged. Luna crossed her arms, watching coldly, a hint of schadenfreude at the corner of her mouth. My mother's lips trembled with anger. "Margaret Jean, how can you say that about Ethan? He's not that kind of person." "Not that kind of person? Then tell me, didn't he give Tyler a tongue-lashing last night and leave him at the food stall on his own?" My parents looked at me, their expressions questioning. I put down my chopsticks and wiped my mouth. "It was me," I admitted calmly. My aunt immediately got more fired up. "Listen to him. He admitted it himself. George, I'm telling you, this matter isn't over today. Either make him come up with $100,000 and apologize to Tyler, or our two families will cut off relations from now on." "Margaret Jean," my dad cried in alarm. "Don't call me Margaret Jean. I don't have a brother like you." I looked at the farce unfolding before me and felt nothing but a wave of desolation. So this is the family affection my dad values. It was the same in my last life. They came to our house again and again, making a scene, pressuring my parents and me. My dad even knelt because of that sister, begging me to help Tyler. I softened. And the result? I stood up and walked over to my aunt. Money, I won't give a single cent. I looked her in the eyes and said, word by word, as for our relationship, if you want to cut ties, cut them now. I will not try to keep you. Everyone was stunned, including my parents. They probably never imagined that the always docile me would say something so resolute. You little beast. How dare you speak to me like that? Aunt trembled with fury. Why wouldn't I dare? I retorted. Over the years, how many things did your family take from ours? After my dad's leg was broken, how many times did you come to see him? Apart from lending money, when did you ever think about our family? Wasn't it my parents who paid Tyler's college tuition? Wasn't the bride price for his marriage borrowed and scraped together by my parents? And now you want to come and drain us again? I tell you all, starting today, not a single cent. My voice wasn't loud, but each word struck their hearts like a hammer. Aunt's face flushed red, then pale. She was so shut down by my words she couldn't speak. Ethan, don't go too far. Tyler finally couldn't hold back, jumping out and pointing at me. I'm your brother. You think you're worthy? I sneered. An outsider in a joint venture. A useless man who tries to swindle his own relatives out of money. Worthy of being my brother? After saying that, I opened the door and made a gesture of please. Get out. This is outrageous. Unheard of. It's simply outrageous. Aunt screamed in a fit of fury, pointing at my parents. George, are you just going to stand by and let him bully us like this? My dad's face went pale. His lips moved, but he didn't say a word. My mom walked over, stood by my side, and looked at them with a determined expression. Ethan is right. You can go. Don't come back. My aunt and Tyler, probably not expecting my usually weak parents to take such a stance, were completely stunned. In the end, they slunk away. Before they left, my aunt tossed out a parting barb. Fine. Just wait. You'll be begging me someday. The door closed, and the house fell into a deathly silence. My dad sat in his wheelchair, sighed deeply, and his eyes were red. Dad, I'm sorry. I knew that what I did made him very sad. My dad shook his head and patted my hand. Don't blame yourself, Ethan. It's me. I'm useless. Dad, you're the most capable person in my heart. I crouched in front of him and said earnestly, I was immature before and let you and Mom suffer. It won't happen again. I'm here now. My mother stood beside me, silently wiping away her tears. I knew that from today, this family would be different, and all of this was observed in full by someone inside a car not far away. Zoe put down the binoculars in her hand and turned to look at Sophia in the back seat. Ms. Taylor, it's all been filmed. Sophia said nothing, only stared at the dilapidated red brick building, her eyes dim and unreadable. She saw Ethan's resolve and his parents' protection. That seemingly poor, fragile family, when facing outsiders, erupted with a kind of solidarity she had never seen before. This was completely different from her own family. In her world, familial love could be measured by material gain. Marriages, shares, power. Everything was a bargaining chip. And Ethan, what was it that he was protecting after all? What about that stock of his? What did your check find? Sophia asked suddenly. Checked it. Zoe answered quickly. Dongsheng Technology. He went all in 5 minutes before the surge and sold precisely 1 minute before the suspension. The maneuver can only be called a miracle. Our top traders say this couldn't be luck. Miracle? Sophia chewed on the word, a cold curve appearing at the corner of her mouth. Move our best analyst team over here. Starting today, they have only one task. What task? Replicate every one of Ethan's moves. Whatever he buys, we buy. Whenever he sells, we sell. Zoe froze. Ms. Taylor, this isn't compliant. I am the rule. Sophia cut her off, her voice carrying an authority that brooked no argument. I want to see whether he truly has godlike skill or is just a fraud. She doesn't believe in gods. She only believes that behind every abnormality, there is a secret that can be uncovered. And what she is best at is uncovering secrets and then controlling them. I didn't know about Sophia's actions. After driving Tyler and the others away, my life became completely peaceful. I used the money I had earned before to do a few quick in-and-out trades in the stock market, and my principal soon rolled up to 200,000 US dollars. I didn't rush to expand. Instead, I withdrew the money and leased a small storefront near the old district. I planned to open a private restaurant serving foreign-style cuisine. In my last life, to please Sophia, I specifically learned to cook. She had a weak stomach, so I studied all kinds of healthful recipes. Although she never once looked properly at the dishes I made, my skills were genuinely honed. Reborn, I didn't want to touch anything tied to my memories. But cooking was the only thing that could make me feel calm and focused. Besides, my mother's lifelong dream was to open a small restaurant of her own. The storefront was small, but the location was good. It was right at the entrance of an old residential complex. I spent 2 days repainting the interior and went to the flea market to pick up some tables and stools. Everything was simple, but clean and tidy. My father sat in his new wheelchair, moving around the shop, handing me things, offering suggestions, his spirits much better than before. My mother was even happier, grinning from ear to ear, experimenting with new dishes every day, full of energy. We gave the little shop a very homely name, Come Home to Eat. On opening day, there were no firecrackers, no flower baskets. I wrote today's menu on the small blackboard by the door: braised pork, pickled cabbage fish, scrambled eggs with tomatoes. They were all just the most ordinary home-cooked dishes. But I didn't expect the first customer to be Sophia. She still had that haughty air, wearing an expensive suit, standing at the entrance of this dingy little eatery, completely out of place with everything around her. Zoe followed behind her, her face full of unease. "What are you here for?" I asked, wiping the table without looking up. "To eat." She was brief. I stopped what I was doing and looked at her. "My temple is small. It can't entertain a great Buddha like you. Turn right when you leave. There are plenty of 5-star hotels. I'm going to eat here." She pulled out a chair and sat down as if announcing an irrevocable decision. I frowned. My mom poked her head out from the kitchen, saw Sophia, froze for a moment, then warmly greeted her. "Young lady, are you eating? Come, sit." She thought Sophia was my classmate. I didn't want to put my mom in an awkward position, so I held my temper and took the menu over. "What do you want to eat? Bring me one of each thing you wrote on the blackboard." I didn't say anything more and turned into the kitchen. Soon, the 3 dishes were all served. The braised pork was rich but not greasy, melting in the mouth. The sour pickled fish was tart and spicy, whetting the appetite with tender slices of fish. The tomato and egg stir-fry, the simplest dish, was cooked into a thick, flavorful tomato sauce, perfect mixed with rice. These are all dishes I researched countless times in my previous life to cater to Sophia's tastes. I thought she would, as before, move her chopsticks symbolically a couple of times. But I didn't expect that she would actually eat everything clean. She nearly used the sauce in the plate to mix with her rice. She ate with a refined manner, but very quickly. It was obvious she was truly hungry. When she finished, she wiped her mouth with a napkin and looked at me, a hint of curiosity in her eyes. "Did you learn this?" "Self-taught." I cleared the dishes. "How much did you spend opening this shop?" she asked. "It's none of your business." $200,000. She answered for me. "You made it from trading stocks." My hand froze. I looked up and stared at her coldly. "You investigated me?" "Yes," she admitted calmly. "Not only that, I also know that every stock you bought you seem to have a sixth sense for, buying at the lowest point and selling at the highest." "Ethan, who exactly are you?" I looked at her and suddenly felt somewhat weary. This woman is like a piece of dogskin plaster. You just can't shake her off. Who I am doesn't matter. I put the bowls and chopsticks into the sink. "What matters is, Miss Taylor, you've already interfered with my life. I can give you a better life." She stood up and walked to me. "One store, what kind of money can that make? Come to my company, I'll give you the vice president position, give you shares. Whatever you want, I can give you." She's back again. Still that same haughty, condescending air of charity. I turned off the faucet, turned around, and faced her. We were very close. I could even smell the expensive perfume she was wearing. Sophia. I called her full name. Do you think you know me well? She didn't say anything. She just looked at me. You're wrong. I shook my head. What you see is only what you want to see. You think I rejected you as a tease. You think my opening the shop is just a bit of tinkering. You think everything you gave me is what I wanted. You don't understand it all. You understand nothing. What I want, you cannot give. Nor can you afford it. What I want is a simple, steady life, my parents' long and healthy lives, and peace in my heart. These are things she cannot buy with money. My words seemed to sting her. Her expression turned ugly in an instant. I don't understand. She gave a self-mocking laugh. Ethan, you flatter yourself too much. In this world, there is nothing I, Sophia, cannot get. Then let's wait and see. I opened the door to the kitchen. Goodbye, and don't let the door hit you on the way out. She stared at me deeply, that look as if it could swallow me whole. In the end, she said nothing and turned away. Watching her retreating figure, I felt no relief, only endless weariness. I just want to live my own life. Why is it so hard? The restaurant business was better than I imagined. The dishes I made were simple home cooking, but the ingredients were honest and the flavors good. Neighbors tried them and spread the word, and soon there were many returning customers. My parents were busier than ever every day, and smiles grew more and more on their faces. My happiest moments each day were watching them bustle about in the shop and listening to the customers' laughter and chatter. This is what life is. That day, an unexpected customer came into the shop. Ryan Zhao. In my past life, it was him who orchestrated that hero saves beauty stunt, which I accidentally disrupted. After that, he always regarded me as a thorn in his side and constantly set traps for me. He was also a well-known second-generation wealthy heir in Ning City. His family was in real estate. He came in and loudly blustered. Is this the little shabby place that even shut its doors on Sophia? Doesn't look like much. A few followers trailed behind him and, at his words, all burst into raucous laughter. The customers in the shop all looked over this way. I frowned and walked over. If you're here to eat, sit down. If not, leave. Oh, boss is pretty arrogant, huh? Ryan Zhao squinted at me, his face full of provocation. Today I'm going to eat here, no matter what. Bring me all your best dishes. I glanced at him, said nothing, and turned back to the kitchen. There's no need to waste words with people like him. I quickly cooked a few dishes and brought them out. Ryan Zhao picked up his chopsticks, pretended to take a bite, then spat it all onto the floor with a fey. What is this stuff? So disgusting. Who would eat this? He hurled his chopsticks down and shouted. The restaurant fell silent at once. Everyone was staring at us. My parents hurried out from the back kitchen, watching the scene anxiously. Sir, if it doesn't suit your taste, shall we replace the dish? My mother said with a forced smile. Replace? Will that make it edible? Ryan Zhao kicked over a nearby stool. If you don't give me an explanation today, I'll smash this place to pieces. His several cronies also stood up, rubbing their hands together, faces full of ill intent. What do you want? I stepped forward, shielding my mother behind me. What do you want? Ryan Zhao sneered, pointing at the dish on the ground. Neil, eat it, then crawl under my crotch. I'll let you off. This was going too far. My mother trembled with rage. My dad was so furious his face turned purple. He tried to push himself up from the wheelchair. I pressed my father's shoulder down and looked at Ryan Zhao, my gaze as cold as ice. Are you sure? Cut the nonsense. Hurry up. Ryan Zhao said, visibly impatient. Okay. I nodded, and under everyone's shocked stares, I bent down. Ryan Zhao and his followers all wore smug smiles. They thought I was really going to kneel. Just as I bent over, I suddenly grabbed the steaming plate of sauerkraut fish from the table and slammed it down hard onto Ryan Zhao's head. Ah! A pig-slaughtering scream echoed through the whole little shop. Scalding broth ran down his hair, reddening his pale face. Fish slices and pickled vegetables stuck all over his head and face, leaving him in a pitiful state. You motherfucker dare touch me. Ryan Zhao howled in pain. His followers snapped to attention and charged at me, roaring. I casually grabbed a stool and, without a second thought, stepped forward to meet them. In my previous life, I studied Sanda for a few years for Sophia. Although I haven't practiced in a long time, it was more than enough to deal with these drunken slackers. The shop immediately erupted into chaos. Tables and chairs were overturned, bowls and dishes shattered all over the floor. The customers screamed and fled in all directions. My eyes went red with fury. I just wanted to vent all the grievances I'd accumulated over the years. Amid the chaos, I didn't know who kicked me. My lower back slammed hard into the corner of the table, a burst of sharp pain. In a moment my attention wavered. A wine bottle came crashing toward my head. I couldn't dodge in time and instinctively shut my eyes. The expected pain never came. I opened my eyes and saw a figure standing in front of me. It was Sophia. She grabbed that thug's wrist, her gaze cold enough to freeze. "Get out." She only said one word. The thug was intimidated by her aura. His hand relaxed. The bottle slipped from his grasp and shattered on the ground. Ryan Zhao was both surprised and delighted to see Sophia. "Sophia? What are you doing here?" "Look, this kid, Shut up." Sophia cut him off coldly. "Ryan Zhao, take your men and disappear from in front of me immediately. Otherwise, you'll pay the consequences." "Sophia, I won't say it a second time." Ryan Zhao looked at Sophia's cold face and shuddered. He knew she was truly angry. He didn't dare say more, glared at me viciously, and with his people, fled in a scramble. The shop was left in ruins, with only the three of us remaining. "Are you okay? Are you hurt?" Sophia turned around and looked at me, her tone carrying a trace of nervousness she didn't even realize. She even wanted to reach out to help me. I stepped back, avoiding her hand. "I'm fine." I looked at the wrecked shop, a sharp pain in my chest. "But my shop, it's been damaged. This is more than just a shop. This was our family's new hope. Now it's all ruined." "I'll compensate," Sophia said immediately. "I'll get you a bigger shop in a better location." "I don't need it." I cut her off, my voice hoarse. "Sophia, do you see? This is the trouble you brought. If it weren't for you, Ryan Zhao wouldn't have come after me. My shop wouldn't have ended up like this. So, I'm asking you, stay away from me, okay?" My tone was filled with deep exhaustion and pleading. Sophia's body shook, and her face turned pale in an instant. She looked at me, her lips moving as if to speak, but not a single word came out. She probably never imagined that one day I would use the word beg to make her leave. That hurt her more than any insult ever could. I called the police. The police arrived, took statements, and ruled it mutual assault. Ryan Zhao paid some compensation, but that money barely covered any of our losses. The shop was smashed to pieces and couldn't reopen for the time being. My mother looked at the mess all over the floor and cried several times. My father smoked cigarette after cigarette. Overnight, he seemed to have aged 10 years. I felt a heavy ache in my chest. I thought that coming back to life, I could protect them. In the end, I was still the one making them live in fear. After Sophia left that day, she never showed up again, but I knew she was definitely watching. 3 days later, I received a call. It was Ryan Zhao's father, Marcus Zhao, who called. "Ethan, right? I'm Ryan Zhao's father." The voice on the other end was steady, with a barely perceptible pressure beneath it. "Something you need?" "Ryan Zhao behaved irresponsibly and caused you trouble. I apologize on his behalf." Marcus Zhao spoke very politely. "Regarding the losses at your shop, we will cover them in full. In addition, I'll personally give another $500,000 as compensation for the distress caused to you. How does that sound?" I was stunned. Marcus Zhao was notorious in Ning City for being overprotective and domineering. Would he take the initiative to apologize and pay compensation? This is not normal. What are your conditions? I asked directly. There was a brief silence on the other end, then a soft laugh. Talking to a smart person is just less work. My condition is simple. Stay away from Sophia, Marcus Zhao said. You're a smart person. You should know some people are off limits. She's not someone like you can covet. I understood. He thought I was just another one of those voracious butterflies trying to use Sophia to climb up. And Sophia's recent attention toward me made him feel threatened. He was scolding me, and he was warning me. You mean as long as I stay away from her, it'll be over? That's right. Marcus Zhao said $500,000 to buy one promise from you. It's a very good deal. Indeed, a very good deal. I smiled, but I refuse. What? Marcus Zhao's voice deepened. Young man, don't be too arrogant. Offending the Zhao family over a woman isn't worth it. First, I have nothing to do with Sophia. She's the one who has been harassing me. You should warn her, not me. Second, your son smashed up my shop and injured my people. This matter can't be settled with 50,000 US dollars. What more do you want? Marcus Zhao's tone was already laced with anger. I want him to come to my shop in person and, in front of all the neighbors, bow and apologize to my parents. Impossible. Marcus Zhao rejected without a second thought. My son, Marcus Zhao's son, will never kneel and apologize to a cook. Then there's nothing more to discuss. I hung up the phone. My parents beside me listened in terror. Ethan, what are you doing? We can't afford to mess with the Zhao family. My mother nearly cried. Mom, don't worry. I took her hand, my gaze steady. In this world, having money and power doesn't make someone right. What he shattered wasn't just our family's bowl, but our dignity. He must apologize for that. But, Dad, Mom, trust me. Seeing the determination in my eyes, they didn't say anything more. I knew they were gambling, putting the future of this family entirely on me. I won't let them lose. I took out my phone and found a number. This was a private detective I knew in my previous life, named Kane Black. He operated on the edge and had many methods. As long as you paid him, he could find out anything. I sent him information on Marcus Zhao and Ryan Zhao and said just one sentence. Investigate them. The dirtier the better. Money is no object. After finishing all this, I looked out the window. Marcus Zhao, you want to play? I'll play with you all the way. Ning City, Taylor Group, top floor office. Zoe placed a report on Sophia's desk. Ms. Taylor, Marcus Zhao went to find Ethan. Sophia's hand paused as she flipped through the report. She looked up, with not a trace of surprise in her eyes. What did he say? He wants to use $500,000 to make Ethan leave you. Zoe's tone was somewhat odd. A mocking curve tugged at the corner of Sophia's mouth. He actually thinks highly of me. Ethan refused. This answer was what Sophia had expected. If Ethan could be bought for $500,000, he wouldn't be Ethan. His condition is that Ryan Zhao publicly apologize. A flicker of surprise passed through Sophia's eyes. She had expected Ethan to be lion-hearted and demand more compensation. She hadn't expected that all he wanted was an apology. A dignity. Marcus Zhao refused. Zoe continued reporting, and I heard Marcus Zhao has already started using his connections, trying to create trouble for Ethan's shop with the industry and commerce and tax departments. He dares. Sophia's voice cooled, as if the temperature in the office had dropped several degrees. She picked up the phone and dialed a number. It's me, Sophia. Do me a favor. The Zhao family's Hongyuan real estate. Aren't they currently bidding on that plot in the west of the city? Yes. I want you to take that plot at all costs. Also, put together any evidence of his tax evasion and collusion with officials over the years and send it to me. After hanging up, she looked out the window. The city's nightscape glittered and flowed in her eyes. But inside her heart, there was only coldness. She didn't know why she was doing this. Was it for Ethan? No, she told herself. She simply couldn't stand Marcus Zhao's arrogant, bully-like face. Anyone who belongs to her Sophia, even though she doesn't want, no one else has the right to bully. But, in her mind, Ethan's words to her that day in the little diner resurfaced. Please, I'm begging you. Stay away from me, okay? Those words were like a thorn, piercing deep into her heart. The first time she realized that the power and wealth she had always taken pride in were utterly worthless in front of one person, and had even become a burden. She began to reflect on whether she had truly done something wrong. She was used to being in control, used to solving problems in the most efficient, most direct way. But she had forgotten that people are not commodities, and feelings are not transactions. She remembered the meal she had at Ethan's little shop that day. A very simple home-cooked dish, yet it had a taste she had never encountered in any Michelin restaurant. That taste was called home. She also recalled the moment in the hospital when Ethan, without hesitation, snapped that bank card in two, the look in his eyes she couldn't understand, resoluteness and sorrow. What exactly had this man been through? Why did the way he looked at her always carry a kind of profound pain she couldn't understand? Sophia realized her curiosity about Ethan had long since gone far beyond mere possessiveness. She wanted to know his past. She wanted to know why he had become like this. She wanted to enter his world. When that thought appeared, even she was startled. "Ms. Taylor," Zoe called tentatively when she saw her silent for a long time. "Go." Sophia came to, her voice a little hoarse. "Get our best PR team. Stand by." She had a premonition. The battle between Ethan and the Zhao family had only just begun, and this time, she didn't want to be a bystander anymore. Kane Black was very efficient. 2 days later, an encrypted file arrived in my inbox. Inside were all the dirt on Marcus Zhao and his son accumulated over the years. Tax evasion, violent demolitions, collusion between officials and businessmen, keeping mistresses, and even involvement in a murder case from a few years ago. Each one of them is enough to damn them forever. I looked at the materials, my gaze cold. In a last life, the Zhao family fell 5 years later. These pieces of evidence were only made public then. Now, I have only hastened the process. I didn't immediately expose those things. I was waiting for an opportunity that would make the Zhao family fall the hardest. These past few days, I didn't deal with the shop. Instead, I sent my parents to my grandmother's in the countryside. I told them I wanted to renovate the shop and wanted them to go out and relax. Although they were worried, they still listened to me. After seeing them off, I returned alone to the shop that had been smashed to pieces. I didn't clean up. I just sat quietly amid the wreckage. I was waiting for Marcus Zhao's next move. I know he would not give up easily. Sure enough, on the third day, people from industry and commerce, the fire department, and the tax bureau came in succession. All kinds of inspections, all kinds of rectification notices. The reasons were 1,001. They said my fire exits were blocked, that my kitchen hygiene didn't meet standards, that my accounts were unclear. I knew this was Marcus Zhao trying to put me in my place. He wanted to force me into submission by this method. I didn't resist, nor did I argue. They said anything, I accepted it. They issued fines, I paid them. They told me to close up for rectification. I closed up. My compliance made those who came looking for trouble find it rather unbelievable. They probably thought I'd act like a hot-headed fool, make a big scene, and then they'd have an excuse to blow things up. But I refused to. I just waited them out. Marcus Zhao over there also seemed to be getting a little impatient. He probably didn't expect me to be so enduring. That night, just as I was about to lock up and go home, a van pulled up silently in front of the shop. A few burly men got out of the van, each carrying a club. The leader was bald, with a gruesome slash of a scar across his face. "You must be Ethan." The bald man walked up to me and tapped my face with the steel pipe in his hand. I said nothing, only stared at him coldly. "Our boss told me to give you a message." The bald man grinned, revealing a mouth full of yellow teeth. He says, "Young man, don't burn your bridges. Some things aren't yours, so don't touch them. Are you done?" I asked. "That's all I have to say." "Say that and get out." The bald man's expression darkened instantly. "Kid, you're arrogant. It seems you won't know how many eyes Lord Ma has unless we teach you a lesson." He waved his hand, and the men behind him immediately closed in. I tightened my grip on the door lock, ready to fight to the death. At that moment, a dozen or so black sedans roared in from all directions of the alley. The blinding headlights lit the entire alley as if it were daytime. The cars stopped steadily around us, encircling us completely. The doors opened, and over 100 bodyguards in black suits and sunglasses stepped out of the cars in unison. Their movements were precise and coordinated, their presence formidable, clearly well-trained. The bald men were instantly petrified. The sticks in their hands looked like children's toys compared to this display. "What's going on?" the bald man stammered. No one answered him. All the bodyguards bowed 90 degrees in the same direction. A stretched Rolls-Royce slowly drove up and stopped in front of me. The door opened. Zoe got out first and respectfully opened the rear door. Sophia stepped down from the car. She wore a black trench coat today, her long hair draped over her shoulders, her face expressionless. But the moment she appeared, it was as if the entire world's focus gathered on her. She was the queen. She clicked her high heels and, step by step, walked up to me. Then she didn't even glance at the thugs trembling with fear. She looked at me and spoke slowly. I told you, my people aren't to be bullied by anyone else. The bald guy and the others soiled themselves on the spot. They probably had never seen such a scene in their lives. Miss Taylor, the bald man fell to his knees with a thud, sobbing, we failed to recognize greatness. We didn't know he was your man. It was all Marcus Zhao. It was Marcus Zhao who sent us. Sophia didn't even look at him. She just gave Zoe a glance. Zoe nodded, waved her hand, and a few bodyguards immediately stepped forward and dragged those men away like dead dogs. The alley returned to silence. Only Sophia and I remained, along with her hundreds of black-clothed bodyguards. What are you here for? I looked at her, my feelings complicated. I have to admit, the moment she appeared, I felt a trace of being moved, but it was quickly suppressed by reason. I'll help you. She looked at me, a hint of an emotion I couldn't read in her eyes. I know you don't need it, but I want. Doing things your way will only make them more complicated. Complicated? She laughed, that smile carrying a trace of pride and domination. In Ning City, I am the biggest complication. Whoever dares to mess with me, I'll make their life worse than mine. She paused, then continued. As for Marcus Zhao, you don't need to worry about him. His good days are over. I looked at her without saying a word. I know she has made her move. With her methods, Marcus Zhao is surely dead. Ethan, she suddenly called my name. Her voice softened a bit. Tell me the truth. Who are you really? Why? How do you know so many things? She was still struggling with that question. I looked at her and suddenly found it a little laughable. Can I tell her? Can I say that I am a wandering ghost who came back from 10 years in the future? Can I say that I watched you with my own eyes treat my 10 years of effort as a joke? Can I say that I came back just to stay far away from you? I can't. Sophia. I took a deep breath, looked in her eyes, and slowly began. Let me tell you a story. I once had a very, very long dream. In my dreams, I also know a girl who looks a lot like you. I followed her like a dog, trailing behind her for 10 years. I shielded her from drink, fought for her, dealt with every trouble she deemed beneath her. I thought that if I gave enough, someday she would turn and look at me. But I was wrong. In the end, I died for her. When I died, she was by my side. But her gaze was colder than the blood flowing from me. She just thinks I dirted her clothes. I spoke while watching Sophia's face. Her complexion, as I recounted it, gradually turned pale. By the end, her body even began to tremble slightly. That was just a dream. She looked at me, her voice hoarse, as if trying to convince me, and as if trying to convince herself. Yeah, I smiled. That smile was uglier than crying. That was just a dream, but it was so real that every morning when I wake up, I can still feel that heart-wrenching pain. So, Sophia, do you understand now? I'm scared. I'm really scared. I don't want to have that dream anymore. I just want to quietly be with my parents and finish out this life. Please let me go, okay? When I finished speaking, the whole world fell silent. Sophia just stared at me, her eyes growing red little by little. I've never seen her like this. That always lofty, always cold and hard Sophia, at this moment, actually looked like a porcelain doll about to shatter. After a long time, she recovered her voice. Each word trembled. If the person in the dream regrets it. I didn't answer her, because I knew this question had no answer. Sophia, in her previous life, did not feel regret. What right does she in this life have to say she regrets it on behalf of her past self? I only shook my head, then turned and walked into that ransacked shop, closing the door behind me. I shut her, and the whole world behind her out. The next day, Ning City exploded. Evidence of Hanyuan real estate's tax evasion and collusion between officials and businessmen was sent from an anonymous email to all of Ning City's mainstream media. At the same time, the plot Marcus Zhao was bidding on in the west of the city was forcefully taken by the Taylor Group at a price 30% above market value. Hanyuan Real Estate's stock price promptly hit the daily limit down. Banks demanded repayment, partners terminated contracts, construction sites were sealed off. When a wall falls, everyone kicks it. The once proud Zhao family collapsed utterly within just 3 days. Marcus Zhao went white-haired overnight and was taken away for investigation. Ryan Zhao was also detained on suspicion of multiple counts of intentional injury. It was said that before he was taken in, he kept shouting, "It was Sophia. Sophia framed me." But no one believed him. Everyone thought he had gone mad. None of this had anything to do with me anymore. With the compensation from the Zhao family and the money I made trading stocks, I renovated going home for dinner again. I brought my parents back home. Seeing the shop renewed, they were as happy as children. Life seemed to be back on track. Only, occasionally, I would see a black Bentley quietly parked on the corner. Not approaching, not disturbing, just watching from afar. I knew it was her, but I pretended not to know. Between us lay a lifetime of grievances. This is a chasm that can't be crossed. 6 months later, my private home cooking restaurant has become a famous internet-famous spot in Ning City. Not because I hyped it, but because the food really is good. Many people come because of its reputation. Reservations are even booked out a month in advance. I made some money and bought a small house with a yard in the old town and brought my parents over. My dad planted flowers and kept birds in the yard. My mom happily experimented with her new dishes every day. I thought the days would continue on so calmly. Until that day, New Year's Eve abroad. Our whole family sat in the yard, eating a steaming foreign holiday reunion meal. The courtyard gate was gently knocked. I got up to open the door. Standing at the doorway was Sophia. She wasn't wearing a business suit, nor a costly trench coat. She was only wearing a very ordinary white down jacket, with a bare face and carrying a fruit basket. She looked a little nervous, a little uneasy, like a young girl who had done something wrong and came to visit her elders. She looked at me, her lips moving as if she didn't know what to say. "Happy New Year." Finally, she forced out the 3 words. I looked at her, my feelings a jumble. "Come in," I said. My mom saw her, froze for a moment, then warmly greeted her. "Young lady, you're here. Come in quickly, it's cold outside." She took me for my girlfriend. Sophia was somewhat flattered and walked in awkwardly. My dad smiled at her too and moved a stool for her. She just sat in our small courtyard like that, with us, watching the fireworks bloom in the sky. She didn't say much the whole time, just sat quietly, watching our family joke and laugh. In her eyes there was envy, loneliness, and a trace of something I had never seen before called warmth. After dinner, I walked her to the door. "Thank you." She suddenly spoke as we reached the alley entrance. "Thank me for what?" "Thank you for showing me what a home is like." She looked at me, her eyes sparkling in the fireworks glow. "And thank you for telling me about that dream. That dream made me realize what I missed." "Ethan," she took a deep breath, summoning courage to look at me. If it's possible, I want to repay you for everything I owe you in that dream. This life, let me chase you. Is that okay?" In the night sky, another firework burst into brilliant bloom. I looked at her face, written all over with nervousness and expectation, and stayed silent for a long time. Can the debts from the last life really be fully repaid in this one? Can a broken heart truly be pieced back together? I don't know. All I knew was that when she spoke those words, that heart of mine that had long since died seemed to gently skip a beat. "George, I've got good news and bad news. Which do you want to hear first?" I put down my paintbrush and looked at my friend Frank. He stood at the studio door with a mysterious air, his face a mix of nervousness and excitement. "Let's start with the bad news. After all, I've gotten used to it these past 3 years. Your painting, Eternity, Just sold for a sky-high price. Over $6 million. I frowned. How is that bad news? Frank chuckled. Because it's actually part of the good news. The bad news is, buddy, you might need to see a psychiatrist. What do you mean? A woman who looks exactly like Mary showed up at your art exhibition. I almost thought I was seeing a ghost. The paintbrush slipped from my hand and fell to the floor, splattering paint across the unfinished canvas. Mary, my late wife, died 3 years ago after accidentally falling off a cliff. I watched with my own eyes as her body was pulled from the water. In that moment, my world completely collapsed. Stop joking around, Frank. Why would I lie to you? She even left this. Frank handed me a note, with an address and a time written on it. My hand trembled slightly. The handwriting was exactly the same as Mary's. That night, I waited until midnight at the designated cafe. Just as I was about to leave, a familiar figure appeared at the door. Mary? No, it couldn't be her. But every gesture of that woman, from the tips of her hair to her fingertips, was a shadow of Mary. George, it's been a long time. She sat across from me, and the familiar voice nearly made my heart stop. Who are you? I struggled to remain calm. I'm Mary, your wife. She smiled and reached out her hand. There was a scar on her palm, the mark Mary got when she accidentally cut herself on glass at 15. Impossible. Mary is already dead. She laughed softly. That was just an accident. I fell off the cliff and was saved by a reclusive old doctor. I lost my memory from the injuries and only recently remembered everything. As she spoke, tears began to fall with an expression I knew all too well, the look Mary wore whenever she felt wronged. I know it's hard to believe, but I really am Mary. I couldn't believe my eyes. The shade of lipstick Mary loved most, the faint little mole beneath her left ear, the unconscious habit of rubbing her ring while speaking. Everything was so familiar. Are you really Mary? She nodded and took a small box out of her bag. This is the proof. Inside the box was the first piece of jewelry Mary ever designed. A sapphire ring, the only one of its kind, never mass-produced. I brought it with me that day because I wanted to surprise you. I suddenly stood up and pulled her into my arms. 3 years of longing surged over me like a tide. I held her tightly, afraid that if I let go, she would disappear again. On the way home, she told me about her experiences over the past 3 years. She was rescued by an old doctor in the mountains, lost her memory due to a severe head injury, and lived in a remote mountain village for more than 2 years. It wasn't until she happened to see a poster for my art exhibition that her memory gradually returned. The next day, I took her to see Frank. Oh my God, it really is you, Mary. Frank stared in astonishment, eyes wide. Frank, it's been a long time. She greeted him with a smile, exactly as I remembered. Frank pulled me aside and whispered, Man, this is unbelievable, but I really believe it's her. Who else but Mary could call me by my childhood nickname so accurately? That was something only the two of you knew. A week later, Mary officially returned. We held a small welcome party for her. Her mother was so overwhelmed that she fainted, and when she woke up, she clung to her daughter and refused to let go. But that night, I noticed the first sign that something was off. Mary never ate mangoes because she was severely allergic. Yet the returned Mary absent-mindedly tasted a mango dessert and was perfectly fine. Aren't you allergic to mangoes? I asked. She paused for a moment, then quickly laughed and said, Oh, that old Chinese doctor cured my allergy. He's really amazing. I nodded, but in my heart, I marked the first question mark. Is this really my wife? A month passed quickly, and Mary blended perfectly into our lives. She knew the location of every item in the house, remembered our shared memories, and could even accurately name friends we hadn't contacted in years. But those subtle feelings of discord kept growing. For example, the real Mary liked to listen to classical music, especially Debussy, while designing jewelry. But she would always unconsciously hum along to pop songs. Mary always habitually used her left hand to hold chopsticks, even though she knew it was wrong. She just couldn't change. But she was a standard right-handed user. The most obvious difference appeared that night when I accidentally caught her smoking in the bedroom. The real Mary hated the smell of smoke. Even when I came home from social events with a faint scent of cigarettes, she would frown. When did you start smoking? I stood at the doorway, my voice soft. She was clearly startled, hastily snuffing out the cigarette. This is a herbal cigarette for treating insomnia, prescribed by an old Chinese doctor. I nodded, not pressing further, but the doubts in my heart only grew deeper. The next day, I went to find Frank. Help me check if, in the past 3 years, plastic surgery technology has advanced enough to achieve this level. Frank's eyes widened. You mean, she's not Mary? I'm not sure, but there are always some things that don't add up. 2 days later, Frank brought news. High-end plastic surgery can make faces look similar, but it can't replicate the exact placement of scars or moles. And there's a limit to how well someone can imitate a voice. What if it was a twin? Frank shook his head. Mary is an only child. We all know that. I decided not to show my feelings for now and to keep observing. A week later, Mary's mother came to my house with astonishing news. George, Mary is going to have a baby, my mother-in-law told me excitedly. I stood there stunned. Before we got married, Mary had been diagnosed with uterine hypoplasia. The doctor had made it clear she could never get pregnant. This was our shared secret. Not even my mother-in-law knew. How do you know that? I managed to ask. Mary told me this morning. She said she already had a checkup. It's been 2 months. My mother-in-law happily grabbed my hand. It's a blessing from above. Mary survived death, and now she can bring us new life. My heart sank to the bottom. This absolutely could not be Mary. That night, I dug out the hospital's diagnosis certificate in my study, which clearly stated the condition of Mary's uterus. But when I wanted to talk to Mary about it, I found her in the bedroom, excitedly discussing the decoration of the nursery with my mother-in-law. Mary, could you come here for a moment? I called her calmly. She followed me into the study, still wearing a blissful smile on her face. Did you forget about this? I handed her the diagnosis certificate. She took it and glanced at it, her face instantly turning pale. George, I can explain. Explain what? Explain that you're not Mary at all. Mother-in-law heard the commotion and walked in. What's going on with you two? Mom, take a look at this. I handed her the proof. My mother-in-law read it, then looked at Mary in astonishment. What's going on? Mary, you can't have children. Of course she can, I sneered, because she's not Mary at all. My mother-in-law's face changed dramatically. What nonsense are you talking about? I can explain. She hurriedly grabbed my mother-in-law's hand. That old Chinese doctor not only saved my life, but also cured my uterine problem. It's a miracle, truly. My mother-in-law looked at me, then at her, hesitating. George, you're being too paranoid. My mother-in-law finally took her daughter's side. Mary has come back with great difficulty. You should cherish her, not doubt her. Yes, George, I know this is hard to accept, but miracles do happen. Tears welled up in her eyes. Haven't we always wanted a child? Now we can finally have our own baby. I looked at her face, identical to Mary's. Yet I became more certain in my heart. This woman was not my wife. All right, I believe you. I smiled, deciding to go along with their story for now. Let's wait together for this miracle to happen. That night, I secretly contacted a private detective. My mother-in-law gladly accepted her daughter's explanation, even suggesting she move in with us to take care of Mary during her pregnancy. Outwardly, I agreed, but inside I grew even more wary. This was no coincidence. There had to be some kind of plot. Mom, haven't you always lived in Haicheng? Won't it be hard to get used to living here? I probed cautiously. For my grandson, I'm willing to endure any inconvenience, my mother-in-law said firmly. I noticed a fleeting unnatural expression on Mary's face. Could the truth be connected to my mother-in-law? On the 3rd day after my mother-in-law moved in, I discovered more suspicious details. For example, the real Mary never drank coffee, but she and my mother-in-law often enjoyed it together. Also, Mary's favorite movie was Roman Holiday, but she claimed to prefer Titanic. The strangest thing is, Mary used to despise her cousin Tom when she was alive, but now he visits frequently and chats and laughs with Mary as if they're old friends. I told Frank about these discoveries. Buddy, things are getting more and more suspicious, Frank frowned. Are you sure you want to keep going like this? Why not just expose her directly? It's not the right time yet. I want to find out what they're really after. The private detective's investigation also made progress. The so-called old Chinese doctor who had saved Mary did not exist at all, and Mary's whereabouts over the past 3 years were completely untraceable. More importantly, the private detective uncovered a shocking fact during the investigation. Mary's cousin Tom was deeply in debt from gambling, and the painting Eternity under my name, worth over $6 million, was his only hope for quick cash. They're after your painting, the private detective asserted, and this fake Mary is likely a professional identity fraudster, hard to win your trust. I took a deep breath and decided to take the initiative. That afternoon, I pretended to go out, but secretly returned home and hid in the study. Sure enough, Mary and her cousin Tom were whispering to each other in the living room. "It's taking too long," Tom said irritably. "How much longer until he sells the painting?" "Don't worry," she soothed him. "I'm already pregnant, and now he completely believes I'm Mary. In a little while, I'll say I want to move to a better neighborhood for the sake of the baby, and then we'll naturally need to sell the painting to raise money." "You're really pregnant?" "That wasn't part of the plan. It was an accident, but it works to our advantage. George wants a child so badly." "Does Annie know the truth?" "She only knows we're trying to scam money, not the specific plan. But she hates George, thinks he caused her daughter's death, so she's more than happy to help." I clenched my fists. So my mother-in-law had always believed that Mary's accident was somehow my fault. In fact, we did argue over something trivial that day, and Mary stormed out in anger. I didn't try to stop her. But I never imagined it would be the last time I'd see her. "You don't actually have feelings for George, do you?" Tom suddenly asked. She was silent for a moment. "It's just part of the job. Besides, I owe you, and I won't go back on my word." "Good then. Don't forget how we're splitting the money once we get it." Their conversation confirmed my suspicions. This was all an elaborate scheme, with my eternity as the target. In the days that followed, I pretended everything was normal while secretly making preparations. I contacted the police, arranged for evidence-gathering equipment, and found the last piece Mary had left before she died, a silver necklace that had never been made public, engraved with an anniversary date only the two of us knew. 2 weeks later, my art exhibition was held as scheduled. As planned, Mary brought up the idea of moving, hinting that I could sell eternity. I pretended to agree and said I would auction the painting on the last day of the exhibition. "This is a surprise I prepared for you," I said on the eve of the exhibition, taking out a delicate box. "To celebrate the new life we're about to begin." She opened the box in surprise, and inside was the silver necklace. "It's beautiful, thank you." She smiled as she prepared to put it on. "Wait," I stopped her. "Aren't you going to look at the engraving on the back?" She turned the necklace over, and her face suddenly went pale. "What's wrong? Don't you like it?" I asked, feigning ignorance. "No, I really like it. It's just, I'm a bit moved." She forced a smile, but didn't know how to explain that she couldn't recognize the significance of that date. "See you tomorrow. Get some good rest, and don't forget to wear this necklace." I kissed her forehead and whispered in her ear, "After all, this is your final design." Her body visibly stiffened for a moment, but she kept smiling. "Of course, I cherish it very much. Tomorrow, the truth will come to light." On the day of the exhibition, the place was packed with people. My painting, Eternity, was displayed in the most prominent spot, right next to the last batch of jewelry designs Mary had created before her death. Mary held my arm, flawlessly playing the role of my wife as always. She had even gone out of her way to wear Mary's favorite white dress and the silver necklace I had given her last night. My mother-in-law and Tom were there too. The three of them exchanged glances from time to time, clearly waiting for the perfect moment. Frank appeared as planned, pretending to be extremely interested in Eternity and asking me about the auction details. "The auction will begin promptly at 4 in the afternoon," I replied with a smile. "This painting means a great deal to me, and I hope it finds someone who truly appreciates it." Mary immediately chimed in. "Yes, although it's hard to part with it, this is a necessary decision for our future." I noticed she glanced at Tom, who gave a barely perceptible nod. At 3:30 in the afternoon, the projector in the center of the exhibition hall lit up. This was the special segment I had arranged. "Ladies and gentlemen, I stood in front of Eternity. Before the auction begins, I'd like to share a little story about this painting." Mary's photo appeared on the projection screen, a group picture from her last birthday party before she passed away. 3 years ago, my wife Mary died in an accident. I created this painting, Eternity, in her memory. The woman in the painting has her back to the viewer, forever gazing into the distance, symbolizing a longing I can never reach. A soft sigh rippled through the crowd. Mary stood beside me, matching my words with a sorrowful expression. However, a month ago, a miracle happened. I turned to look at Mary. My wife came back. The whole room erupted in astonishment, and many people curiously sized up, "Mary. This is my wife, Mary." I took her hand and stepped forward. Back from the dead, it's truly the greatest blessing heaven could have given me. She smiled and nodded to everyone, while my mother-in-law and Tom stood by with smug expressions. However, my tone suddenly shifted. Amidst my joy, a question arose. Is she really Mary? The entire room fell silent. Mary's hand trembled slightly in my palm. So, I did some investigating. The projector switched to a set of comparison photos. On the left was the real Mary. On the right was a photo of her. They look exactly the same, don't they? But I clicked the remote, and the photo was enlarged, the details highlighted. The position of the piercing on the left ear was slightly different, the arch of the eyebrows subtly varied, and the fine lines at the corners of the eyes ran in different directions. These are details that even professional plastic surgery cannot fully replicate. Mary tried to pull her hand away, but I held on tightly. My mother-in-law and Tom also began to grow anxious, glancing toward the exit. More importantly, the real Mary has a feature that cannot be copied. I turned to Mary. The necklace I gave you last night has a date engraved on the back. Can you tell everyone what that date is? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. That was the due date of our first child, the one we lost. I spoke softly, my voice trembling with emotion. Mary designed this necklace to commemorate the baby we never got to meet. The date was our secret, only Mary and I knew. The room fell utterly silent. Mary turned deathly pale, my mother-in-law's eyes widened, and Tom had already started edging toward the door. What surprised me even more, I continued, was that the real Mary could never get pregnant due to an underdeveloped uterus. Yet this, Mary claims she's already 2 months along. I let go of her hand and took a step back. So, who are you really? A flicker of despair flashed in Mary's eyes, but she quickly regained her composure. I am Mary, it's just that old Chinese doctor. The non-existent old Chinese doctor, right? I sneered. Just like the non-existent amnesia, the non-existent miraculous recovery. I turned toward the projection screen. Let's see the truth. The screen played the secretly recorded video of her conversation with Tom, their discussion on how to swindle eternity, clearly audible. This isn't. She tried to explain, but my mother-in-law had already rushed forward. Who are you really? My mother-in-law screamed. You're not my daughter? Auntie, stop pretending, I said calmly. You know she's not Mary. You just wanted to get back at me, didn't you? My mother-in-law's face turned pale. I didn't know she was going to impersonate Mary. Tom just said he needed help to scam some money. Police. Don't move. Several plainclothes officers emerged from the crowd, blocking Tom as he tried to escape. Amid the chaos, Mary took the opportunity to shove me aside and run toward the exit. I chased after her and caught up in the parking lot. Tell me, who are you really? She finally stopped, turned to face me, tears welling in her eyes. My name is Luna. I'm an actress. Tom found me and said if I helped trick you out of a painting, he'd give me $1 million. I needed the money for my sister's medical treatment. Why did they choose me? Why Mary? She shook her head. I don't know. They gave me a lot of information, photos, videos, even your chat logs. I was just following the script. The police arrived and took her away. I stood where I was, gazing at the distant sky, my heart a tumult of emotions. Back in the exhibition hall, the crowd had already dispersed, leaving only Frank and a few police officers. It's all been cleared up, Frank walked over. Tom owed money to loan sharks and was desperate. Your mother-in-law always resented you for not saving Mary, so she helped them plan the whole thing. I walked up to eternity, gently caressing the back of the woman in the painting. Mary, I can finally give you an answer. The police left with the evidence. Frank patted me on the shoulder. What do you plan to do next? I took a deep breath. Prepare for the final painting. What will it be called? The Pursuit, I said softly. This time, I'll paint her face, not just her back. After the case was solved, my life seemed to return to where it was 3 years ago. Eternity was temporarily held by the court as crucial evidence. Tom and Luna were arrested for fraud, and my mother-in-law was investigated as an accomplice. The prosecution wants you to testify in court, the officer called to inform me. The trial is scheduled for early next month. I agreed, though I was utterly exhausted inside. After exposing the deception, I thought I would feel the thrill of revenge, but what I felt instead was a profound emptiness. Those days spent with Mary That month had allowed me to feel a trace of warmth in life again, even if that warmth was born of lies. Frank often came to see me, worried I might fall into despair once more. I told him not to worry, that I was working on a new piece, The Pursuit. Are you really going to paint Mary's face from the front? Frank asked curiously. For the past 3 years, you've always refused to do that. It's time, I replied. We can't live in the past forever. I moved out of the apartment I had shared with Mary and returned to the old house in the suburbs, the place where the real Mary and I had first made our home. The dust-laden memories in the house brought me both pain and comfort. Mary's studio remained just as she had left it, design sketches scattered across the table, unfinished jewelry drafts pinned to the drawing board. One afternoon, while sorting through Mary's belongings, I discovered an encrypted external hard drive. After several attempts, I finally unlocked it using our wedding anniversary as the password. Inside were backups of Mary's design works, along with some personal photos and videos. One folder in particular caught my attention. Inside a folder named Plan was a series of jewelry design sketches, labeled George's Birthday Special Project. It was then I remembered that, in the months before Mary passed away, she often spoke mysteriously about giving me an unparalleled birthday surprise. Leafing through these design drafts, I couldn't help but be moved to tears. Mary had planned to design a jewelry collection inspired by my paintings over the years, with each piece corresponding to a representative work from my artistic career. The last page was a sketch of a ring, with a dark red stone set in the center, its edges adorned with tiny diamonds, closely resembling the sunrise in my early work, Dawn. This is blood amber? I examined the notes carefully, confirming the name of this rare gemstone. Mary's designs had always been bold, but blood amber is extremely rare in the Chinese market, almost impossible to acquire. How did she obtain such a material? As I continued searching, I found a series of email correspondence screenshots. Mary had actually contacted a gemstone dealer in Myanmar, commissioning the blood amber specifically for this ring. The last email showed that the gem had already been shipped, but the date was exactly 1 week before Mary's death. I immediately called Frank. Help me check if there was a package sent from Myanmar 3 years ago, addressed to Mary. 2 days later, Frank brought news. The package did exist, but since no one signed for it, it was returned. However, according to the shipping records, it was resent a month ago, this time addressed to you. What? I was completely confused. I haven't received any package. Check your old apartment? Frank suggested. Back at my old apartment, the manager told me there was indeed a package, but it had been signed for by Mary. She said it was a surprise for you, so she didn't notify you, the manager explained. This meant Luna had taken the blood amber. I rushed to the detention center and requested to see Luna. Separated by glass, she looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but still wore that face so similar to Mary's. What are you doing here? She asked coldly. A month ago, you signed for a package from Myanmar. There was a blood amber inside. I want to know where it is. She looked surprised. How did you know? Tom asked me to sign for it. He said it was some precious gem. He took it. My heart sank. Tom was deep in gambling debt. A precious blood amber would be a windfall for him. He had probably sold it long ago. That blood amber is very important to me, I said softly. It was the last gift my wife left me. Luna was silent for a moment, then suddenly said, maybe it's not that bad. Tom said the stone has flaws, its value is greatly reduced, and he hasn't found a suitable buyer yet. Hope was rekindled. If Tom hadn't sold the blood amber yet, maybe there was still a chance to get it back. Do you know where he might hide it? Luna hesitated for a moment. He has a safe deposit box in a self-storage facility on the east side of the city. After getting the address, I immediately contacted the officer in charge of the case and explained the situation. Since Tom was involved in a large sum of money, the police quickly approved the search request. Mr. George, we've found the safe deposit box, the officer said over the phone. Inside, we did find the blood amber you described, as well as some other evidence. A few hours later, I retrieved the blood amber at the police station. It was even more beautiful than I had imagined. Within the dark red core, wisps of mist seemed to swirl, shifting strangely under the light. This was the birthday gift Mary had so carefully chosen for me, waiting for 3 years. Back home, I carefully placed the blood amber beside the canvas of The Pursuit. The painting was already more than half finished, Mary's face emerging from the blur into clarity, yet it still felt like something was missing. Watching the blood amber glimmer faintly under the light, I suddenly understood how I should complete the painting. The creation of the pursuit entered its final stage. I decided to break convention and incorporate the blood amber into the artwork. This would not only be a portrait, but a hybrid piece that fused painting with the art of jewelry. Are you sure you want to do this? Frank frowned. That blood amber is priceless. That's exactly why, I said firmly. Mary chose it for me. She wanted to inspire an unparalleled masterpiece. I will fulfill her wish. For 2 whole weeks, I worked day and night, neglecting sleep and food. I cut the blood amber into thin slices and inlaid them at the spot of Mary's eyes on the canvas, making her gaze truly come alive. I used a special technique to blend the surrounding paint, creating a harmonious transition with the gemstone. From certain angles, the entire painting seemed to be imbued with life, and Mary's expression would shift depending on where the viewer stood. On the day I finished the piece, Frank brought news. Luna had been sentenced to 3 years in prison, but due to her good attitude in confessing, she might serve only a year and a half. Tom, involved in multiple fraud cases, was sentenced to 7 years. My mother-in-law, as an accomplice, received a suspended sentence. The case is finally over, Frank said. Are you planning to exhibit your painting? Yes. Next month there will be a solo exhibition at the National Art Museum, and The Pursuit will be the grand finale. The curator couldn't stop praising this piece, believing it represents the innovative direction of contemporary art and marks the pinnacle of my career. Indeed, this painting, which incorporates Mary's jewelry design concepts, is in some sense a creation we made together. On the eve of the exhibition, I checked the arrangement in the gallery alone one last time, making sure every piece was perfectly lit and positioned. When I reached The Pursuit, I couldn't help but stop and gaze at it. Mary's face was vividly lifelike, her eyes inlaid with blood amber gleaming under the spotlight, as if she were smiling at me. For the first time in 3 years, I faced her directly, no longer painting only her back. Mr. George, a stranger's voice called from behind. Sorry to disturb you, but the gallery has been cleared. He turned around to see a young woman dressed in the museum's staff uniform. And you are? I'm the new curator, responsible for security in your exhibition area, she explained with a smile. I really like your work, especially this piece, The Pursuit. Thank you. I nodded. I'll be leaving soon. She didn't leave, but continued to gaze at the painting. That red gem is beautiful, almost as if it's alive. It's blood amber, I explained, a very rare gemstone. I know, she said softly, top-grade blood amber from Myanmar, containing plant fossils, extremely rare. I looked at her in surprise. You know a lot about jewelry? She smiled. I studied jewelry design. I'm just working part-time here. For some reason, Mary suddenly came to mind. She, too, had an almost obsessive passion for and expertise in gemstones. If you don't mind me asking, who is the woman in this painting? She asked. My wife, I replied. She passed away 3 years ago. She was a jewelry designer. I'm very sorry, she said sincerely, then gestured toward the blood amber. This gem must mean a great deal to you. It was the last birthday gift she chose for me before she died, but I only found it recently. She nodded thoughtfully. Setting it into her portrait is the best way to remember her. For some reason, talking with this unfamiliar woman brought me a strange sense of calm. Perhaps it was her love for jewelry that reminded me of Mary. Sorry, I have to continue my rounds. She glanced at her watch. See you tomorrow, Mr. George. See you tomorrow, I replied, watching her leave. On the way home, I felt an unusual peace. The completion of The Pursuit seemed to mark the end of my search for Mary as well. Not forgetting, but remembering her forever in another way. The next day, the exhibition's opening ceremony attracted numerous figures from the art world and the media. The Pursuit undoubtedly became the center of attention, with people marveling at this innovative form of artistic expression. Amid the crowd, I noticed that curator standing aside, watching as well. Sunlight streamed through the skylight of the gallery, falling upon her, and for a fleeting moment, I thought I saw Mary's shadow. No, I shook my head, warning myself not to be deceived by mere resemblance. There would never be another Mary in this world, just as there would never be another unique blood amber. After the exhibition, The Pursuit was purchased by an anonymous collector for an astronomical price. I donated all the proceeds to a foundation supporting students in jewelry design, establishing a scholarship in Mary's name. life slowly moved forward, and I began to accept new commissions and create new works. Occasionally, I would think of that curator with a unique insight into jewelry, wondering if she was still working at the art museum. Until one day, I received an email from HL. There were no words, only an image. A sketch of a ring design, the style strikingly similar to Mary's unfinished series. My heart raced as I replied immediately. Who is this? The response came quickly. Yesterday, you brushed past me by the cafe on the street corner, but you didn't recognize me. If you want to know more, wait for me at the museum entrance at noon tomorrow. Is it that librarian? How could she have a design so reminiscent of Mary's style? Filled with anxiety and anticipation, I decided to accept the invitation and find out for myself. The next day at noon, I arrived at the art museum half an hour early. The sun was shining, and small groups of visitors were coming and going from the exhibition hall. But there was no sign of the mysterious person. Just as I began to suspect this might be some kind of prank, a faint trace of perfume drifted by, a scent unfamiliar to me, yet it inexplicably reminded me of Mary. Mr. George, thank you for coming. The voice behind me made me turn around. It was the curator. Today, she wasn't wearing her uniform, but a simple white dress, completely different from Mary's style when she was alive. Did you send the email? I asked directly. She nodded. There are some things I want to tell you, but not here. Will you come with me? We walked through the small park beside the art museum and arrived at a secluded cafe. The whole time, I kept observing her. Her mannerisms, the way she walked, none of it resembled Mary. Yet her sensitivity to detail and her focused attention gave me a strange sense of familiarity. Who are you, really? The moment we sat down, I couldn't wait to ask. My name is Nicole. She looked me straight in the eye. I'm Mary's student. This answer caught me off guard. Mary had indeed taught jewelry design part-time at the Design Academy before she passed away, but she had never mentioned having any particularly close students. I took her advanced design class the year before she passed, Nicole explained. Her guidance benefited me for a lifetime. That still doesn't explain why your designs resemble her style so much, I said, half convinced. Nicole took a folder out of her bag. These are all notes from Ms. Nicole's class and her feedback on my work. You can look at the handwriting and confirm that it's really hers. I carefully examined the materials. It was indeed Mary's handwriting. There were even traces of the pale purple ink she habitually used. Before Ms. Nicole passed away, she was guiding me on my graduation project, Nicole continued. The theme was interwoven light and shadow, blending Eastern and Western aesthetic elements. She gave me a lot of valuable advice, and even showed me a sketch from a private project she was working on at the time. George's special birthday project? I blurted out. Nicole's eyes widened in surprise. You know about it? I only found out recently. I briefly explained the origin of the blood amber. I knew that blood amber would eventually find its way back to you, Nicole said with a smile. Nicole always said it was a destined gift. Is that why you contacted me? Because you saw the blood amber? Nicole was silent for a moment, as if choosing her words carefully. Not entirely. After Nicole passed away, I've been trying to carry on the design philosophy she taught me. Some time ago, I happened to see the news about your eternity being stolen, and then I saw someone impersonating Nicole. I thought I should tell you a few things. She took a letter out of her bag. This is the last letter Nicole gave me after class before she passed away. She said if her surprise plan went smoothly, I should show you this letter. If anything went wrong and she was gone, I should still make sure you see it. I took the envelope. It was indeed Mary's handwriting, and it read, "To my dearest husband." The envelope had already been opened. I didn't know what was in the letter at the time. I just kept it as Nicole instructed, Nicole explained. It wasn't until I saw the news that I opened it. I hope you won't blame me. I carefully took out the letter paper and unfolded it to read. Dear George, if you are reading this letter, perhaps my surprise plan has gone awry. Don't worry, it's just that the plan has changed, and the form of the gift may be different now. The blood amber I picked for you is said to be known as the Eye of Rebirth. Legend has it that looking at the world through it reveals truths that are often overlooked. I hope it can become a turning point in your artistic career, leading you to see new possibilities. All these years, your paintings have always depicted backs, as if you're afraid to face something head-on. I hope this gemstone will give you the courage to paint the front, to capture true emotions. No matter what happens, please remember, love does not disappear, it merely changes form, like this blood amber, which, after millions of years, transforms from resin into a gem, yet still shines. Forever loving you, Mary. The handwriting became a bit messy at the end, as if written in a hurry. I stroked the paper, as if I could feel Mary's emotions at that moment. Thank you, I said, my voice choked with emotion. This means a lot to me. You're welcome. I'm just fulfilling Ms. Nicole's request, Nicole said with a smile. Actually, there's one more thing I'd like to ask your help with. What is it? I'd like to apply for the Mary Scholarship you established, she said, taking a design portfolio out of her bag. This is my graduation project, combining Ms. Nicole's ideas with my own innovations. As I flipped through the portfolio, I was surprised to find that while these designs bore traces of Mary's influence, they also possessed a unique style and innovative touches. In particular, a series called Metamorphosis cleverly combined jewelry with transformable elements, allowing the pieces to change form according to the wearer's mood and occasion. This is outstanding, I praised sincerely. Mary would be proud of you. A hint of joy flashed in Nicole's eyes. Really? I've always worried I couldn't live up to her expectations. You've already moved beyond the learning stage and developed your own style. That's exactly what she hoped to see. As we talked, sunlight streamed through the window and fell on Nicole. In that moment, I seemed to understand something. When Mary spoke of love changing its form, perhaps she wasn't just referring to the blood amber, but also to her passion for art and its legacy. Luna tried to impersonate Mary by mimicking her appearance, but she could never truly replicate who she was. Nicole, on the other hand, looked nothing like Mary, yet she inherited a part of her artistic vision and spirit. Perhaps this is the true gift Mary left me, not the blood amber, but a new possibility, a path out of the past. Nicole's graduation exhibition was held in a small gallery. Though the space was modest, it was exquisitely arranged. Her works were divided into 3 series, representing the past, the present, and the future, forming a complete narrative. This is a brilliant idea, I sincerely praised. From tradition to contemporary and then to the future, it showcases the evolution and possibilities of jewelry design. Nicole smiled and nodded. This was inspired by teacher Nicole. She always says that good design should look back at history, be grounded in the present, and look forward to the future. As I walked through the exhibition hall, I noticed a special display case in the corner, containing only one piece, a seemingly simple ring with a small red gemstone set in the center. This is. I leaned in to read the label, which said, in memory, dedicated to teacher Mary. Yes, I made it from a small piece of blood amber I bought with my own savings, Nicole explained. It can't compare to the quality of yours, but it's also from Myanmar. I examined the design of the ring closely. Clean, powerful lines with fine silver threads encircling the blood amber, as if protecting the central gem, yet also seeming to radiate light outward. This is very similar to Mary's final design style, I said softly, but it also has your own unique touch. I wanted to create a piece that could both commemorate teacher Nicole and showcase my own style, Nicole explained. The blood amber represents her influence, while the outer design is the direction of my own development. The exhibition attracted quite a few industry insiders, including some well-known figures from the jewelry design world. After viewing the exhibition, an older female designer approached Nicole and offered her an internship opportunity. I stood by, genuinely happy for Nicole. In the evening, as the exhibition was drawing to a close, Frank arrived as well. Seeing me with Nicole, he gave me a knowing smile. New friend? He asked me quietly. Mary's student, I explained simply. Very talented. Frank nodded without asking further questions. After touring the exhibition, he gave high praise to Nicole's work. It blends traditional and modern elements, demonstrating both technical skill and artistic expression, quite rare. Nicole thanked him politely. This wouldn't have been possible without the guidance of teacher Nicole and teacher George. After the exhibition, the 3 of us went to a nearby restaurant for dinner. During the meal, Frank talked about recent trends in the art market, while Nicole shared her insights on contemporary jewelry design. The conversation was light and pleasant, and I realized it had been a long time since I had relaxed and chatted with others like this. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank received an urgent call and left early. Only Nicole and I remained in the restaurant, and the atmosphere suddenly became a bit quiet. Mr. George, Nicole hesitated for a moment before speaking. I've always had a question I wanted to ask you. What is it? After you finished the pursuit, what are you planning to create next? The question caught me off guard. To be honest, ever since the pursuit, I haven't had any new inspiration. That painting seemed to have drained all my emotions and creativity. I haven't decided yet, I answered honestly. It might take some time to find a new direction. Nicole nodded thoughtfully. Nicole once said that the hardest thing for an artist isn't creating a stunning masterpiece, but finding a way forward after reaching the peak. She really did say that, I recalled with a smile. Mary always saw further than I did. Maybe, Nicole said softly, you could try a new direction that combines your work with jewelry design? Like in The Pursuit, but taking it even further. I recalled what Mary mentioned in her letter about seeing new possibilities, and suddenly I was inspired. You mean, creating a series of works that combine painting and jewelry? Exactly. Nicole said excitedly, your paintings create emotion in two-dimensional space, while jewelry gives it tangible form in the three-dimensional world. The combination of the two would have an astonishing effect. The more we talked, the more engaged we became, even sketching a few concept designs on the restaurant's napkins. Nicole's ideas were fresh and bold, perfectly aligning with my artistic vision, yet bringing a new perspective. As we left the restaurant, Nicole suddenly said, I have to confess something. I looked at her in confusion. I reached out to you not only to deliver Nicole's letter, but also for a personal reason. I hope to learn from you, she said candidly. I want to become a designer like Nicole, someone who not only creates beautiful works but also perfectly blends art with emotion. Her sincerity moved me. You're already on that path, and you're doing very well. Then, may I consult you often? She asked a little nervously. Of course, I'd be delighted. On the way home, a series of new works already began to take shape in my mind. A cross-disciplinary art that fuses painting and jewelry, both as a tribute to Mary and as a new starting point in my artistic career. That night, I had a dream. In the dream, Mary stood in a halo of blood-red light, smiling at me and saying, see, I knew you would find a new direction. When I woke up, I got out of bed immediately and began sketching for the new series. I decided to name it Rebirth. Not only representing the ancient life forever preserved in blood amber, but also symbolizing the rebirth of my artistic career, as well as the inheritance and development of Mary's artistic vision. A week later, I submitted a new series proposal to the gallery and received an enthusiastic response. The curator even suggested holding a special exhibition themed Between Dimensions, a dialogue between painting and jewelry. For this project, I invited Nicole to join the team as a jewelry design consultant. She had just graduated from design school and was both excited and nervous about the opportunity. Am I really up to the task? She asked me in the studio. You understand Mary's design philosophy better than anyone, I assured her. That's exactly what I need. In the days that followed, we worked at a feverish pace. We created during the day and discussed at night, sometimes even working through until dawn. Nicole's ideas flowed endlessly, and I transformed those thoughts into concrete artistic expressions. In the process, I rediscovered the pure joy of creation that I hadn't felt in a long time. One late night, when we finally finished the design for our first piece, Nicole clapped her hands excitedly. This is amazing. Teacher Nicole will definitely love it. At the mention of Mary, she suddenly realized her slip and looked at me nervously. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. It's all right, I said with a smile. I think Mary really would like it. She always hoped I could step out of my comfort zone and try new ways of expressing myself. Nicole let out a sigh of relief, then hesitantly asked, Professor George, may I ask you a personal question? What is it? When you faced the woman impersonating Professor Nicole, how did you see through her? I mean, from the news reports, she seemed like an exact copy of Professor Nicole. I pondered for a moment. Superficial resemblance is easy to achieve, but a true personality cannot be duplicated. Mary's perception of art, her attitude toward life, the way she handled details, these were all unique. Just like a work of art, Nicole mused, no matter how perfect a replica is, it can never capture the soul of the original. Exactly. We worked through the night again, and finally established the overall framework for the Rebirth series. 7 pieces, each blending elements of painting and jewelry, together telling a story of loss and recovery, death and rebirth. As our collaboration deepened, my relationship with Nicole gradually shifted from teacher and student to partners, both mentor and friend. Sometimes, when the light traced the gentle contours of her focused profile, I would unconsciously think of Mary. But soon, I realized that this association wasn't due to any physical resemblance, but rather that same dedication and passion for art. "George, you look much more spirited lately," Frank remarked at a gathering. "It's been a while since I've seen you so full of life." "Yeah, the new project has helped me rediscover the joy of creating." "Nicole's a good girl," Frank said meaningfully. "Talented, and she really understands you." I understood his implication, but just smiled without responding. There was indeed a special understanding between Nicole and me, but it was more rooted in our shared passion for art than anything else. At least for now. The creation of the Rebirth series took 3 months, longer than expected, but the results were stunning. Each piece was a perfect fusion of painting and jewelry art, offering both the pleasure of viewing as a flat image and the discovery of three-dimensional effects brought by the jewelry elements from different angles. A week before the exhibition opened, I received an unexpected visitor, Luna. She had served her sentence and was released early. She looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but her eyes were clearer. "I came to apologize to you in person." She stood at the studio door, her voice low, "for everything I have done." I didn't respond immediately, but simply invited her in to sit down. "I know that an apology can't make up for the loss," she continued, "but I want you to know that I truly regret it." "How is your sister's illness?" I asked. She looked up in surprise. You know. I guessed. "You said you needed money for a reason, and I think that must have been true." "Yes," she nodded. "My sister's surgery was a success, and now she's fully recovered. For the past 3 years, I've been thinking about how to make up for my mistakes, even though I may never be able to." I was silent for a moment, then said, "You know, in a way, your appearance actually helped me." "What do you mean?" "It forced me to confront the past, to re-examine my memories with Mary, and ultimately to find a way forward." I pointed to the sketches of the Rebirth series on the wall and briefly explained this new project. Luna listened quietly, a look of genuine respect in her eyes. "I'm glad you were able to find a new beginning from that nightmare," she said at last. "I hope I can find my own path to rebirth as well." As she left, she handed me a small package. "These are some simple pieces of jewelry I made in prison. The craftsmanship is rough, but each one represents my remorse and blessings. I hope you can accept them." Opening the package, I found several small trinkets handmade from fine wire and colorful glass beads. Though simple, it was clear the creator had poured their heart into them. Nicole happened to come into the studio at that moment. Seeing the trinkets, she asked curiously, "What are these?" I told her about Luna's visit. "You forgave her?" Nicole was a bit surprised. "Not exactly forgiveness," I said thoughtfully. "It's more like understanding. Everyone has their own hardships and choices. What's important is how we learn and grow from our mistakes." Nicole nodded pensively, picking up a piece of jewelry to examine it closely. "The craftsmanship is rough, but the concept is ingenious. This person seems to have a talent for design." "Perhaps," I said. "Everyone has the possibility of being reborn." On the day of the exhibition opening, numerous figures from the art and jewelry worlds gathered together. The Rebirth series received unprecedented acclaim. Critics called it a model of cross-disciplinary art, and the gallery owner was overjoyed, announcing plans for a nationwide tour. In the crowd, I saw Luna. She was dressed simply, standing quietly in a corner, admiring the exhibits. Our eyes met in the air. She nodded slightly, then walked away. "Who was that?" Nicole asked, standing beside me. "Someone searching for rebirth," I replied. Nicole seemed to understand and asked no more. We stood side by side before the pursuit, watching the blood amber refract a strange light under the lamps, like the silent burning of life's flame. "Thank you," I whispered to Nicole. "Without you, this series might never have come into being." "It was your philosophy that guided us, Teacher Nicole," she replied modestly. "I was just fortunate enough to be the messenger." In that moment, I suddenly understood the true meaning of what Mary had written in her letter. Love has changed its form. Love exists not only in memory and longing, but also in inheritance and innovation, shining brightly in every spark of artistic creation. And I, at last, had learned how to begin anew after loss, to embrace rebirth while still searching. The success of the exhibition exceeded everyone's expectations. In just 1 month, the Rebirth series was reported on by major media outlets and even attracted the attention of the international art world. A renowned auction house extended an olive branch to me, hoping to include several pieces in their annual highlight auction. "This is an unprecedented opportunity," Frank said excitedly. "If the deal goes through, you'll become a top player in the contemporary art market." I wasn't particularly concerned with commercial success, but I did feel the joy of having my work widely recognized. More importantly, this series opened up a new artistic path for me, freeing me from the creative shackles of the past 3 years. Nicole benefited as well. As the project's jewelry design consultant, she received high praise from the industry. Several well-known jewelry brands reached out to her, hoping she would join their design teams. "Which offer are you planning to accept?" One night, as we were tidying up the studio together, I asked her. "To be honest, I'm still hesitating." Nicole paused her work. "These are all great opportunities, but what? But I want to keep working with you." She looked straight into my eyes. "Rebirth is just the beginning, isn't it?" Her candor surprised me a little. Indeed, the success of this series had opened up many new creative possibilities for us, but I wasn't sure if I should continue such a close working relationship. "You should consider your own career development," I said tactfully. "These opportunities are very rare for young designers." Nicole seemed to sense my hesitation and nodded gently. "I understand." In the days that followed, we were both busy and rarely had the chance to talk alone. A week later, Nicole told me she had decided to accept an invitation from a French jewelry brand and would be going to Paris to work for 2 years. "Congratulations," I said sincerely. "It's a very good choice." "Thank you," she replied with a smile, though a fleeting, elusive emotion flashed in her eyes. "I think this is the best arrangement for both of us." Before Nicole left, we held a small farewell party. Frank, the curator, and a few mutual friends came. The atmosphere was warm, tinged with a hint of sadness. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank found an opportunity to pull me aside. "Are you really going to just let her go like this?" "What do you mean?" I pretended not to understand. "Don't play dumb, man," Frank said bluntly. "You have feelings for her. That's obvious." "That's just professional rapport," I argued. "Is that so?" Frank looked at me meaningfully. "Then why have you been so distracted ever since she decided to go to France?" I was at a loss for words. In fact, these past few days I had indeed felt an inexplicable sense of loss, but I kept telling myself it was only because I had lost an excellent partner. "I know what you're worried about." Frank lowered his voice. "You feel like you're letting Mary down, don't you?" I remained silent. He had touched upon the deepest concern in my heart. "Mary has been gone for 3 years now." Frank gently patted my shoulder. "She would want you to be happy." After the party ended, I walked Nicole home. The night was tranquil as water, and the city lights flowed around us. "Thank you for your help and guidance these past few months." Nicole stopped at the entrance of her apartment building. "This experience has meant so much to me." "I should be thanking you," I said sincerely. "Without you, the Rebirth series would never have been completed." We fell into silence, as if both searching for the right words to say goodbye. "My flight is the morning after tomorrow," Nicole finally said. "I still have some things to take care of tomorrow. So, this is probably the last time we'll see each other." 2 years will pass quickly. I tried to make my voice sound light. "Paris is a beautiful city. You'll like it there." She nodded, a complex emotion flickering in her eyes. "Professor George, there's something I've always wanted to tell you, but never found the right opportunity." "What is it?" "I chose to study jewelry design because I saw Nicole's works." She took a deep breath, or more precisely, because I saw the pieces Nicole designed for you. The way she perfectly fused love and art moved me deeply. "I didn't know that," I said in surprise. "I've always hoped that one day I could be like Nicole, creating art filled with emotion." Nicole continued, her words coming faster, as if afraid she might lose her courage. "But now I realize that what I want even more is to create for a specific person, just like Nicole created for you." I understood her implication, and my heart suddenly began to race. "Nicole, please don't respond," she gently interrupted me. "I just wanted you to know before I leave. No matter how you feel right now, remember that starting over is not a betrayal of the past, but a way of cherishing life." With that, she rose up on her tiptoes and softly kissed my cheek, then quickly turned and walked into the apartment building, leaving me standing alone in the night, my mind in turmoil. After returning home, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep, replaying Nicole's words and that gentle kiss over and over in my mind. Suddenly, I remembered a small box in the study where Mary's last complete letter was kept, a letter I had found while sorting through her belongings. But at the time, overwhelmed by grief, I never had the courage to open. Now, I finally mustered the courage to walk into the study and retrieve that delicate little box from the depths of the drawer. Inside lay a pale pink letter, bearing Mary's familiar handwriting. Dearest George, by the time you read this letter, you may find yourself at a crossroads in life, hesitating between moving forward or staying where you are. My greatest wish is that you can move bravely through life, as freely as your brush glides across the canvas. Love is not a shackle, but a liberation. Memory is not a burden, but a source of strength. If one day you meet someone who can rekindle the light in your eyes, please don't hesitate because of your longing for me. True love is wishing happiness for the other, even if there is no longer a place for oneself in that happiness. Remember, the days we loved each other were complete, with no need for regrets. And now, it's time to paint a new picture, my beloved. Forever loving you. Mary. Tears blurred my vision. It was as if Mary had foreseen my current situation and had already given me her blessing. She was always like this, always able to see further and more clearly than I could. At that moment, I made up my mind. Early the next morning, I drove straight to Nicole's apartment. Professor George? Nicole opened the door in surprise, clearly not expecting me. I have something to say to you. I looked her straight in the eyes, not as your teacher, but as George. I handed her Mary's letter. Nicole read it carefully, her expression shifting from surprise to being moved, and finally, her eyes grew moist. She truly was an extraordinary woman, Nicole said softly, handing the letter back to me. Yes, she was. I nodded. That's exactly why I believe her words. Nicole, cancel your plans for Paris. Stay and continue our collaboration, will you? Nicole looked at me in shock. Are you serious? I've never been more serious, I said quietly. Rebirth is not just the name of an artwork, it's a possibility in life. Are you willing to explore that possibility with me? Her answer was a firm embrace, warm and real, like the first ray of sunlight after a long winter. In that moment, I felt as if Mary was somewhere, smiling down on us, blessing this new beginning. Life is like that blood amber, enduring countless ages of change and sedimentation, ultimately transforming into an eternal radiance. And I, at last, understood what true pursuit is, what true rebirth means. A year later, Nicole and I unveiled our second joint project, Interwoven, at the National Art Museum. This series was even bolder and more innovative than Rebirth, blending Eastern and Western aesthetics with various art forms. Critics hailed it as a significant breakthrough in contemporary art. At the opening ceremony, Nicole held my arm as we faced the media interviews and congratulations from the audience together. She wore a simple white dress, and around her neck was the Eye of Rebirth necklace we designed together. She completed the jewelry part based on my painting. Your collaboration seems even more in sync than your last project, a reporter asked with a suggestive smile. Nicole glanced at me, and we exchanged a smile. Yes, both in art and in life, we've found the perfect balance. This indirect answer drew a round of good-natured laughter from the reporters present. My relationship with Nicole was no longer a secret, but we always kept a low profile, letting the public's attention remain focused on our artistic creations. After the exhibition, we drove out to a small hill in the countryside. There stood an ancient oak tree, beneath which Mary's ashes were laid to rest. This was the place we chose, rather than a traditional cemetery, natural, peaceful, just like Mary herself. Mary, the exhibition was a great success today, I said softly to the stone beneath the tree. Nicole's designs were admired by everyone, just as you once predicted. Nicole crouched down and placed a bouquet of white daisies in front of the stone. Teacher Nicole, I've been working hard to become the kind of designer you hoped I would be. I hope you can be proud of me. A gentle breeze stirred, and the oak's leaves rustled softly, as if it were Mary's reply. On the way back, Nicole suddenly said, I've been thinking about something. What is it? If that woman who pretended to be Ms. Nicole hadn't appeared, you might never have found the blood amber, never created the pursuit, and we might never have met. Her words made me fall into deep thought. Indeed, it was the series of events triggered by that deception that ultimately led to everything now. It feels as if, in the unseen, some force has been orchestrating it all. Perhaps that's the irony of fate, I said softly. Sometimes, the worst beginnings can lead us to the best endings. When I returned home, I received an unexpected package. Upon opening it, I found a delicate little box containing a handmade ring. Though simple, the craftsmanship had improved greatly compared to the pieces I had seen before. There was a note attached. Mr. George, thank you for your kindness and understanding a year ago, which gave me the courage to start over. Now I have found a job at a small jewelry shop, and my life is gradually getting back on track. This ring represents my gratitude, and I wish you happiness and well-being on your new path. Luna, I handed the ring to Nicole. After examining it carefully, she remarked, her skills have improved a lot. She truly has talent. Some mistakes in life shouldn't become permanent scars, I sighed. Everyone deserves a second chance. That night, we sat in the studio, discussing ideas for the next series. Nicole suddenly proposed a bold idea. I was thinking, maybe we could try connecting the different stages of our work to create a complete narrative. From eternity to quest, then to rebirth, and intertwined, they're actually different phases in a person's life journey. You mean? A complete story about loss, searching, rebirth, and integration, she explained excitedly, ultimately asking what is the most precious treasure in life. Love. I finished her sentence, no matter what form it takes. Nicole nodded, her eyes sparkling with creative fire. We could call it the forms of love, an unprecedented artistic exploration. Sounds like a long-term, ambitious project. We have time, she smiled, holding my hand. We have so much time. In that moment, I felt a powerful surge of creative inspiration, just like when I first began my artistic career years ago, filled with passion and possibility. But this time, I was not facing the blank canvas alone. 2 years later, the Forms of Love series was exhibited simultaneously in the world's 5 greatest art museums, causing an unprecedented sensation. Critics called it a milestone in contemporary art history, blending painting, sculpture, jewelry design, and other art forms to create an entirely new artistic language. The final piece of the exhibition was titled Eternal Ring, a massive circular canvas depicting every form of love in life, familial, platonic, romantic, and the love for art itself. The edge of the canvas was inlaid with gemstones of various sizes, and under certain lighting, these gems would cast light onto specific parts of the canvas, revealing another hidden layer of patterns. The centerpiece of this work is a massive blood amber. Through intricate optical design, the light it projects perfectly outlines 2 embracing figures. One is Mary, the other is Nicole, symbolizing the intersection of past and present, the fusion of memory and rebirth. On the closing day of the exhibition, in front of the Eternal Ring, I knelt on one knee and proposed to Nicole. The ring was crafted from the very blood amber Mary had once prepared for me, designed by my own hand and fashioned by the finest jeweler. This ring carries the memories of the past and the hopes for the future, I whispered softly. Nicole, will you be the eternal ring in my life? Her tears sparkled under the spotlight. I will. Amidst the cheers, I remembered what Mary once said, love does not disappear, it merely changes its form. Yes, love does not disappear. It exists in memories, in art, in every rebirth and new beginning. It traverses time and crosses space, like that blood amber which, after millions of years, still shines, forever retaining the original warmth and brilliance of life. This is the answer I have been searching for all along. Between loss and gain, between seeking and rebirth, love remains constant, only appearing in different forms along the journey of life. And all we need to do is bravely accept this gift, no matter how it comes to us. On the day of the wedding, the sky was a clear, washed blue. Beneath the ancient oak tree that had watched over Mary, we exchanged our vows. A gentle breeze stirred, making the leaves whisper as if blessings were drifting in from another world. No matter when or where, Nicole said softly, we'll always remember that it was she who brought us together. Yes, I squeezed her hand, and we will always cherish this gift. In the brilliant sunlight, the blood amber ring gleamed, radiant as life itself, enduring the passage of time, yet still shining bright.